So when they used to call him, the madman, so many would make fun of him because they won't understand, what kind of ecstasy Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is going through. But anyway, Narendranath went there, and he saw Ramakrishna was there and there are some devotees, and Ramakrishna told him to sing a song. Narendranath sang some Bengali songs with heart and soul. He sang beautifully, and listening to those songs, Ramakrishna went into samadhi. After some time, when Ramakrishna came out of that samadhi, he went very close to Narendra and he said, "Oh, you have come very late. Why have you been so unkind to me? Why have you made me wait for so long? My ears are tired of hearing the futile words of the worldly men. How I have longed to pour my spirit into the heart of someone who is fit to receive my message." And it is said, this is a matter of faith. In the Ramakrishna mission also, they believe this very strongly, that Vivekananda is one of the Sapta Rishis. And Ramakrishna had this vision that he has gone to one of the Sapta Rishis as a baby and told the Sapta Rishi to come down with him. So Ramakrishna is that child and Vivekananda is the Sapta Rishi, one of the Sapta Rishis. That's a vision that Ramakrishna had, and the Ramakrishna mission also believes in that aspect. So for Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda is a realized soul actually who has come down. But at the moment, Vivekananda doesn't know that, Narendra doesn't know that. So Ramakrishna looks at him and he says that you are Narayana. With folded hands, he tells him, you are Narayana, born on earth to remove the suffering and misery of humanity. Now, Narendra felt very uncomfortable that what is he talking here? That why is he saying all these things? And he actually thought, these are his words, he says that he must be stark mad. I am the son of Vishwanath Datta. How dare he speak to me in this way? So this was their first meeting. And after some time, Narendranath asked Ramakrishna Paramahamsa that, sir, have you seen God? Because he asked many philosophers and other people, they all would give only philosophy and some abstract logic. He said, have you experienced God? Have you seen God? He wanted to know that. And none of them were able to give him that answer. But when he asked this question to Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna said, yes, I have seen God and I have seen him more closely than I see you. I have talked to him more closely and intimately than I am talking to you. But alas, who is interested in seeing God? People weep for things, for money, for power. Who is interested in weeping for God? When Narendra heard this, it really touched his heart, because nobody has given him this kind of an answer. And we should remember, it is not the words that impacted him. It is the power behind that word, the sadhana, the realization that impacted him. So this is their first meeting. He returns and he keeps thinking, and you know what conclusion he comes to? His conclusion is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is a monomaniac. He thinks he is mad because all these mystical things that have happened and the conditioning that Narendra had at that point in time was very strong. So he rejected, he says he is some monomaniac. Second time when he goes there, again, some bhajans are going on, he goes and sits there. And after some time, Ramakrishna touches him. And as Ramakrishna touches him, the walls of that place, they start disappearing. His mind starts whirling. And so he cries out saying, what are you doing to me? Narendra cries out saying, what are you doing to me? I have a father, I have a mother at home. What are you doing this to me? And Ramakrishna just laughed for a while and restored him back to his normal state. And Narendra couldn't understand that how can a monomaniac do all this? He's not trying to hypnotize him. He was giving him some other experience only. So he became much more confused. And so he decided that I have to be on guard. Next time I go there, I have to be on guard. I cannot allow him to do all these things. Now the third visit he makes. When he goes there third time, at the touch of the master, he lost consciousness completely. Meaning he went into that quiet state where the mind has become completely still. And in that state, he was there for some time. What experience he was seeking from people, he got a glimpse of that experience. Now he knew that Ramakrishna is not some mad person. He has some different power with him altogether. And it is said that in that state, Ramakrishna also got a confirmation of what he believed, that Narendra is one of the Saptarishis. So Ramakrishna also got that confirmation in that state. So now doubts have cleared from Narendra's mind. He has started becoming open. He has started opening up slowly. Now, one thing we should remember here is that, many people say that if a master touches, we will get into samadhi. So I'm waiting for one such master to come. When they will touch, then I will go into samadhi. The master would be touching so many people. But if the mind is not ready, one will not experience it. Narendra's mind is ready. He was seeking that state. There is a yearning inside him. And so when the master touched him, effortlessly he went into that state. And so he started understanding the purity of Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, because he didn't want anything from Narendra. No money, power, nothing. He doesn't want to loot away anything from him. So he understood the purity of Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, his unselfishness, and the way in which he would be devoted to the Divine Mother Kali. All this when he saw, he could understand, but still in his mind, he could not accept any mortal being as his guru. And he felt, in his rational thinking, he always felt that why should there be a middleman between me and God? I will realize by myself, I don't need any guru. Now we should know this, that see how Narendra has evolved. It is not that some miracle has happened, suddenly he transformed into Vivekananda. He has gone through these stages of evolution, of doubt, of disbelief, of not having the faith, then also of accepting Ramakrishna but not as a guru. He has grown through all these stages. We generally don't see many of these things. We make them into avatar purushas and then we feel that, oh, these people are divine people, they can achieve these things. It is not possible for us. We are ordinary people. But here it is that how these different stages he goes through. So that was his condition, where he did not accept Ramakrishna as the guru yet. And he still had a lot of love for the master. For Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, he still had a lot of love and regard, and he genuinely appreciated the purity, and he would test also. So if Ramakrishna is saying that be away from Kamini Kanchan Kirti, Narendranath would test him. He put one gold coin below the pillow of Ramakrishna Paramhamsa. When Ramakrishna tried to sleep and his head touched the pillow, he immediately bounced back saying, what is below this pillow? Meaning that was the level of his purity of mind. that if he was saying certain things, he was actually living that. So Narendra would keep testing Ramakrishna also in that way. And in fact, it is said that Ramakrishna also would tell Narendra, keep testing me. Just like the money changers test the coin, whether this coin is real or not. So Ramakrishna also used to tell him, Narendra also used to test him. So in this way, this relationship evolved beautifully. Now, Narendra was slowly getting introduced to the knowledge of Vedanta also. Because Ramakrishna understood that finally, how much ever one has done the bhakti of the form and the Mother Kali, etc., it is no doubt great, but ultimate state is absolute oneness, which is called Parabhakti and Supreme Param Jnan also. So he found that Narendra's mind is ready for that knowledge of Vedanta. So he used to tell him about Vedanta, about the oneness of this entire creation, that there is only one truth appearing as all this. So there is no difference between the inert and the sentient also. That there is Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam. This whole universe, we are seeing it as Khanda, broken. But actually it is Akhanda, one expanse of consciousness alone. And that consciousness pervades Vyaptam, where? Inert and sentient, both. Now Vivekananda, Narendra, he used to listen, but he also had a very skeptic mind. And what he had experienced so far was only quietude of the mind. He has not yet experienced that everything is Brahman. He experienced a certain quietude of the mind, absorption of the mind. So one day, he was in the temple garden and he laughingly said to a friend that how silly is this philosophy? This jug is God, this cup is God, whatever we see is God, and we too are God. Nothing could be more absurd. These are his words. At that point in time, Ramakrishna had come out of his room and he gently touched him. And suddenly, Narendra literally saw that whole world is an appearance of the divine alone. The jug is God. Now, we should not imagine that he's seeing the jug and he's seeing some picture inside that. No, this is his intuitive experience. That he suddenly comes to, by the power of the master. The master has touched him and temporarily he has given him that experience where he sees everything as appearance of one truth alone. So he suddenly saw that everything in the world was indeed God. And when he returned home and he started eating the food also appeared to him divine, the plate also is appearing to him divine, and the person eating also is appearing to him as God only. So that experience lasted for some time for him. And some people thought, his parents thought that what has happened to him? Has he become ill? Is he having some difficulty? And slowly, when that experience, gradually he came down from that experience, that everything is only one Brahman. Then the next stage he experienced was the world is a dream. Like how we experience dream, we know it is not real. At a certain stage when we know, we are aware of the dream and we know it is not real. He said he experienced that also, that the world is only a dream. And he was walking on the street. He banged his head to a pillar also. But he didn't know the difference, that there is a difference between this head and this pillar. So for some time he was in that state. Then finally he came back to his normal state where he started seeing duality as how we see it. This gave him again the glimpse that what the master is talking about, that everything is divine, is not some abstract or absurd philosophy, it is a reality. So this way, there are various aspects to how Ramakrishna Paramahamsa trained him. Now, what happened? So, 1881 is when Narendra met Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, because 18 years old he was. Now it is 3 years. His association with Ramakrishna has further intensified. In 1884, suddenly what happens? Narendranath's father gets a heart attack and he passes away. And the family is reduced to utter poverty. Certain debts that the father had taken, they were not paid up. And so even those relatives who had accepted his father's kindness, etc., earlier, they refused to come to their help. And the home, etc., had to be sold off. And many things happened whereby the family came to utter poverty. And Narendranath was starving, barefooted, searching for job, but no success. At this time, he started doubting, is there anything called unselfish love? He has experienced it with the master, but in the world, he says, is there anything called unselfish love? Two rich women, they make an evil proposal to him also to put an end to his distress, but he rejects it. At this time, he starts again doubting existence of God. Because so far, he has not had experience of personal, the form. That experience he has not had. He has had only the experience where the mind has become completely quiet, or because of the master's grace, he is seeing everything as consciousness. But personal God, the Lord with the form, anchoring in devotion, that has not yet happened to him. So he started doubting the existence of God. He started even speaking about it. He became an atheist. And some disciples of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they also started spreading the rumor and the gossip that Narendra has become an atheist. And Narendra is telling people on their face that only cowards believe in God. And why do they believe? Because of fear of suffering in hell. So weak-minded people believe in God. So this is at one stage of his evolution, he was going through this. And when people came to Ramakrishna, he would dismiss all this talk. He would say, don't even talk to me any of this. And he would say, I won't talk to you people if you talk to me like this about Narendra. So the master dismissed this entire rumor. He, of course, had a deeper insight, so he didn't bother too much about this. Now, Narendra's mind is pulled in two sides. On one side, there is a deep spiritual yearning and experience, etc., what he has had. On the other hand, there is no food, there is poverty, the family has come to such a miserable condition. Now, he was also hungry. One day he was sitting completely tired, exhausted, no food. And it is said that when he sat there, his mind started to wander. And suddenly he lost consciousness, fell down. And it is said here, at that point, as though some veil which was there on him got lifted, and he was awakened to a deeper intuitive realization that I have a spiritual mission to fulfill in life. So suddenly it was as though a clarity had dawned on him that there is a greater purpose of my life. So when he came out of that state, he decided to take sannyas. Because his grandfather also had been a sannyasi. And of course, Narendra's Purva Samskar, he is a great rishi. If one believes that, then those have all risen. These are not some miraculous mystical experiences. These are expressions of his own past sadhana and his own past good karma. That this is what we call karma uday also sometimes. Punya uday, sorry. Punya, the great things one has done in the past, when it matures, when it fructifies, then many obstacles they start getting clear and clarity dawns. So he had that clarity, but at in one part of his mind there is still the conflict about his family. So he goes to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and he says, please, why don't you tell Mother Kali, you are able to talk to her, please tell her to bless my family with some money. Ramakrishna says, I don't ask mother for these petty things, but I can ask her to give you darshan. You go and ask what you want. So on the appointed day, Narendranath goes into the Dakshineshwar Mandir and he has the darshan of Mother Kali. The first time he has darshan of form. So when he has the darshan of Mother Kali, he has gone prepared thinking, I will seek wealth, I will seek, prosperity and well-being for my family. But that darshan of Mother Kali completely makes him oblivious of himself and his condition also, his family, the world, everything. And he's so stunned at that darshan of Mother Kali that he prays. What does he pray for? Knowledge, renunciation, love, liberation. 4 things. He says, oh Mother, bless me with knowledge, jnana, renunciation, tyag, love is bhakti, and moksha, liberation. Please bless me with these 4. So Mother blesses him, he comes out. Then he realizes, oh God, what has happened? What did I ask? Again he requests Ramakrishna, please request her to give me darshan once more. Again the same thing happens. 3rd time he goes, again the same thing happens. 3 times this happens to him. And then he realizes that there is some deeper purpose here. And he surrenders to the mother. And he comes back and he understands that this is, he seeks the blessing of Ramakrishna and he says, please bless my family. And Ramakrishna says, yes, your family will have enough. They will not starve. So he says, they will not lack simple food and clothing. He assures Narendranath. So in this way, and that did happen also. So that his family's maintenance, basic things, the blessings of the master and Mother Kali, that was taken care of. Now this was a very powerful experience for him to understand that in this relative plane, worship of the form is important. Now see the transformation of Narendranath also from Brahma Samaj to this side where he understands that the worship of the form is important and the form has a relevance and significance in this realm. If we transcend this realm, go beyond body identification into the absolute state, then it is all right. But at this level, there is a importance and relevance that he understood very, very clearly with this experience that he had. And he felt the love of Ramakrishna and he started taking him as the Guru. So he said finally, in this context, he says that Sri Ramakrishna was the only person who from the time he met me believed in me uniformly throughout. Even my mother and brothers did not. It was his unwavering trust and love for me that bound me to him forever. He alone knew how to love. Worldly people only make a show of love for selfish ends. See, this is the love of the Guru. And the blessings of the Guru make a big difference. Especially a master like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. It is by his blessing that Vivekananda ji, Narendra transformed into Vivekananda and did what he did. And so here he started accepting, Narendranath started accepting Ramakrishna as his guru. Now, many experiences happened, so I'm not going to go into those details. There are many disciples also apart from Narendranath who kept coming to the master. Now we go to the last part of the master's life, because 2 more years just are left of the master's life. What the master would do is, on Sundays, he would have satsang, kirtan in the room there at Dakshineshwar. Many household devotees and many others used to come there and take part in that satsang, seek the blessings of the master. In the weekdays, there are these specific disciples who are full-time committed, who want to realize the self. And so these disciples were the early monks whom Ramakrishna finally initiated into sannyas also. So these monks used to come in the weekdays because other householders have work, etc. to do. So they would go for that. They would come only on the weekends. But these monks, these disciples, they used to be there with the master, and they had many, they learned many things from Ramakrishna. They also saw many states into which Ramakrishna used to go into. And in this way, he was training them. He was grooming them to share this knowledge of Vedanta with other people. But the emphasis was always on their sadhana. He would guide them personally into each one's sadhana. He would guide them. Because Vedanta is not an objective science, is not a philosophical subject just for intellectual study. It is an experiential science. And that experiential science can happen only when there is the sadhana which is done to purify this mind. So devotion, seva, etc. He would initiate them, he would guide them in all these. Now in 1884, one day in January 1884, Ramakrishna was going in, he was alone. That early morning, he was alone, and he was going towards a pine grove. And suddenly, his mind went into a trance, and there was nobody to support. See, many times there would be his nephew, Hriday, who would support him whenever he goes into trance. But the body, why? Because he would go into trance in standing state also. So then body has to be supported. But that morning, there was nobody with him. He was alone. And he went into that state and he fell down. Dislocated his shoulder. A bone in his left arm, he dislocated. And there was a lot of pain. And that pain ensured that his attention remained on the body. He thought, anyway, he's a master, so he didn't suffer over that pain in that sense the way we suffer, but he understood that there must be some divine purpose in this also, that why the Divine Mother wants me to, pay attention to this body. And so he started seeing everything that is happening around him, because now he is more conscious at the body level. There is a pain here. So he started seeing everything as the Leela which is happening around him. And many times he would pray to the Divine Mother that, "Oh Mother, don't make my mind absorbed in Brahman. I want to see your play all around. So, am I not your child? I must have my mother. A million salutations to the knowledge of Brahman. Give it to those who want it. But right now, don't allow my mind to be absorbed." Not that he doesn't have knowledge of Brahman. He already experienced it. But at the moment, he wants to see the play of the Divine Mother all around him. And, there were some disciples around him who would proclaim Ramakrishna as an incarnation. We saw earlier also that some people, even scholars, had proclaimed him as an incarnation. But Ramakrishna never allowed it to go into his head. So when his arm got dislocated, he would make fun. He would joke around to people and he would say that those who call him as an avatar, he says, have you ever heard of a god breaking his arms? So he would, just pass a light comment that way and reject that notion that he is some avatar or something like that. It took almost 5 months for that bone to heal. That got over. Then in April 1885, his throat became inflamed. And prolonged conversation or absorption in samadhi would rush the blood into the throat. So it would aggravate the pain. The doctor had told him, you can't speak for a long time. You can't go into the samadhi state. But he would continue out of his compassion. He would speak, and many times he would go into trance also, because that his mind is like that. His mind is very super sattvic. So hearing the name of the Lord, he would go into the state. So eventually that throat inflammation started becoming more dangerous, and here it is written, it was diagnosed first as an inflammation, then it became a clergyman's sore throat, and slowly what happened, that doctor had already told him during inflammation not to speak. Now when it has become more aggravated, the doctor put a strict rule: please don't talk at all, otherwise this is going to take a very bad turn. But what did Ramakrishna say? He said he would not turn away anybody. Whoever came to seek blessings, guidance, he would still guide. And you see his very touching statement. He says that, let me be condemned to be born over and over again, even in the form of a dog, if I can be of help to a single soul. And he bore all the pain cheerfully, singing the name of the Lord, not bothered about himself. And he would say, let the body be preoccupied with illness, but O mind, dwell forever in the bliss of the Lord. Now, one night he had a hemorrhage of the throat. And the doctor now said, this illness is actually throat cancer now. Narendra was the first one to break this news to the inner circle, the close disciples. And within 3 days, Ramakrishna was moved from Dakshineshwar to Kolkata for better treatment at a place, at one person's place called Balram, in his home. He was there for a week, and then they shifted him to a place called Shyampukur in the northern section of Kolkata. Now, in the beginning of September 1885, when Ramakrishna moved to this new place, Shyampukur, they concealed his illness from the general masses. Only the inner circle knows. But it became more and more serious. For him to talk became very difficult. Even to eat food has become very, very difficult. And those who were with him, they felt a lot of sorrow and pain. They put aside everything, their own, family, work, etc., the inner circle of disciples, and they started taking care of the master full time. They would take turns and shifts, and they would, some of them would stay with him only and take care of him day and night. Some of them would go do their work, come back, take care of him. But you see the compassion of the master. Even at this time, he was giving instructions to Narendra about how to propagate this message after Ramakrishna passes away and drops the body also. Sharda Devi, meanwhile, also has come from Dakshineshwar, and she was staying there, and she used to cook for him, she used to take care of him, and she would handle the people also who have come there. So for months together, she would sleep at 11 o'clock, get up at 3 o'clock early morning, because they are in a very small place. All these people are living in one small place. So she would also take care of him. She also did a lot of this tapasya. Now, what happened was, there are different uh, types of notions that were going around about the disease and this cancer of Ramakrishna. So one group, which was headed by a disciple called Girish, they believed that the illness was only a pretext to bring the devotees together and form them into a very strong, solid, united group. And when this would happen, the master would make the disease go away by itself. This is one group's thinking. Then the other group started thinking that this is the play of the Divine Mother. And she had her own will. Now, nobody knows what is the will of the Divine Mother. For her mysterious ways and her mysterious ends that she wants to accomplish, the master is going through this. And a group of people like Narendranath and some others, what do they believe? They believe that the body of a master also is made up of material cause, like the five elements, like all of us, and it is subject to the six vikaras that the body goes through, that it is conceived, it is born, then it grows, then it goes through uh, decay, and ultimately one dies. So it is subject to that cycle, and nobody can prevent that. This is the study and understanding of Vedanta, which is in which he is grounded. So he believes that very clearly that this is a natural process. He does not believe in that this is some super natural phenomenon or any such thing that has some mysterious reasoning behind it. Day by day, the condition of Ramakrishna started deteriorating. Now he was only on the liquid food, and the body was becoming very frail, but his face was shining with much more spiritual glow and brilliance. And here we find that some devotees, they try to keep the common public from coming more and more to the master, so that the master has rest. And the master did not allow them at all. One of them, like Girish, even told those devotees that you can't succeed in it. He was born for this very purpose, for the redemption of the people, and he is not going to stop, no matter what happens. So don't even attempt that, devotee should not come so that he will not speak to them, then he will recover, because he is not going to stop. Now, this way he kept meeting the disciples, who were devotees, whoever kept coming, and some of the disciples who were with him, that close inner circle of people, he also started giving them specific instructions of what each one should do. Um, he would train them more intensely. And later on, we will see he also tells them to take sannyas finally. Now, one devotee, Pandit Shashadhar, he suggested to the master that you are a great yogi. If you just concentrate your mind here, you can destroy the root cause of the disease, because yogis have that power. So why don't you do that? And Ramakrishna rebuked him like anything. He said, for a scholar like you to make such a proposal, how can I withdraw the mind from the lotus feet of God and turn it to this worthless cage of flesh and blood? Narendra begged him that for our sake, please do it for our sake. And Ramakrishna replied, do you think I am enjoying this suffering? I wish to recover, but that depends on the mother. So Narendra said, please pray to her. She must listen to you. Ramakrishna says, but I cannot pray for my body. Narendra says, you must do it. Please do it for our sake at least. So Ramakrishna says, okay, I will try. And after a few hours, he tells Narendra that I said to mother that, oh mother, I cannot swallow food because of my pain. Make it possible for me to eat a little. And she pointed out all of you to me and said, what? You are eating enough through all these mouths. Isn't that so? So Ramakrishna then said that I felt ashamed to utter another word. Now, these are the experiences that Narendra has gone through. He has seen his master, the abidance of the master in devotion, in the way in which he connects to the divine, the dispassion towards this body. This is real spirituality which is experienced. The reason why a person needs a guru is for this. Because what is written in the books, the guru lives this and shows it, that this is what it is. And Narendra saw this really. Now, his seeking also became much more intense, and he was possessed as though, with this fever that I want to realize the self. And he complained to the master that, everybody you are training them, giving them guidance in their sadhana, but my mind is still not experiencing that higher state. And I am very dissatisfied. So the master said, ask what you want. And Narendra begged for samadhi. So that he might altogether forget the world 3-4 days at a time. And you know what Ramakrishna replied? He says, you are a fool. There is a state even higher than that. Isn't it you who sing that all this is divine? First of all, settle your family affairs, come to me, you will experience a state even higher than samadhi. So, this experience he had, the family affairs, etc. He went, he spoke to the mother, he sorted out a few things, he came back. And then, anyway, Ramakrishna had not hidden this fact that after him, Narendra would be he would take charge, basically. And he would tell him also, in front of people, he has told him that I leave these young men in your charge. See that they develop their spirituality and they don't return home. It is your responsibility. So one day he called all these young people who are very committed and who intensely want to realize the self. He called all of them and he told them, take begging bowls and go out and get bhiksha. Beyond any caste, creed, community barrier, go and seek bhiksha like a sannyasi at any door. And for a few days he trained them in that. And then one day he said that bring the ochre clothes, and he initiated all of them into sannyas. So that is how this core group, they say that about 12 of these disciples, Narendra, Rakhal, Baburam, Niranjan, Jogi, Latu, Tarak, Elder Gopal, Kali, Shashi, Sharat, and younger Gopal. These are the disciples who got initiated. Now, formally now they are sannyasis. Please remember, Ramakrishna himself is a sannyasi. Totapuri Maharaj initiated him into sannyas. And we should know this very clearly, that Shankaracharya ji established the Dashanami Sannyas Parampara, where he classified the sannyas into 10 different sects. So like we belong to the Sringeri Math, and sannyasis of that Math, their name ends with Saraswati. Like that, the name ending will change. Puri, Vanam, like that there are different names. So Tota Puri. So Totapuri comes under the Dashnami Sannyas Parampara, and he initiated Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna initiated Vivekananda and Narendra and all these other people. So they are under the parampara of Advait Vedanta only, formed by Shankaracharya. Now these disciples got initiated. They are the ones who finally formed the organization, and the great work of Ramakrishna continued forward. Now in this time, a few more experiences have happened between Ramakrishna and Narendra. So one day Narendranath was on the ground floor, he was meditating, and the master was lying in the bed upstairs. And in the depths of his meditation, suddenly Narendra felt a lamp burning at the back of his head. And some time later, he lost all consciousness. What Nirvikalpa Samadhi he wanted that experience of, Narendra got that experience. What Ramakrishna had told him, he gave him that experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and he was there in it for quite some time. When he came out of it, partially, he could only see his head as though. And he was asking, where is my body? He was crying loudly, where is my body? Where is my body? So this elder Gopal, he rushed down to the room, and he says, why? It is here only, below your head is your body. But it is said Narendra could not find it. So elder Gopal got frightened. He went to Ramakrishna and he said, what has happened to him? So Ramakrishna said, let him be like that for some time. He has worried me long enough for this experience. Now let him experience this. After a long time, Narendra regained full consciousness. He was bathed in complete peace. Now please see, he has already experienced the form. Now he is experiencing the formless. Absorption in the absolute truth, actually, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, by the grace of the Master. And when he went to Ramakrishna now, prostrated, Ramakrishna said, now the mother has shown you everything. There is nothing hidden from you now. But this revelation will remain under lock and key. This experience of Samadhi will remain under lock and key, and I shall keep the key, because you have a lot of work to do in the world. Because if you get into the Samadhi state, you will drop the body. So you finish the work, till that the key will be in my hand. And so Narendra worked from 1886 to 1902. He did the tremendous work in this whole world. And today that is how there is so much of awakening about Vedanta, about the glory of the Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic knowledge. So this happened to him, and very soon, now few days are left for Ramakrishna to pass away. So one day when he was seeing him, through his sight, Ramakrishna transferred all his power to Vivekananda. This is called Chakshu Diksha. A guru can transfer through eyes, through touch, and through thought. And Narendra had actually got all the three from the master. He got all the three types of Diksha. So he transferred all his power, and he says so innocently, he says, today I have given you my all, and I am now only a poor fakir possessing nothing. By this power, you will do immense good in the world, and not until it is accomplished will you return. This was his statement. But now you see, it's very strange. Narendra, even at this point in time, he thinks in his mind that in this state of pain, if right now he declares that I am God, I am willing to believe that he is an incarnation of God. And the next moment, Ramakrishna says to Narendra, now he has become Vivekananda. So he says to Vivekananda that he who came as Ram and he who came as Krishna is in front of you as Ramakrishna. Narendra prostrates, completely surrendered. Now his surrender is absolutely complete. That who lived amidst us was God, none other than God himself. And so this was one of the last experiences. And August 15th, 1886, the master's pulse became irregular. The devotees are next to him. His body suddenly became stiff and he went into a trance. After some time, he came out of that state also. He ate some porridge. He again became little more stronger. And Narendra took the feet of the master on his lap. He began to press them, rub them. And again, Ramakrishna said, take care of all these boys. And then he asked to lie down. 3 times he chanted the name of Mother Kali. And at 2 minutes past 1, there was a sound from the throat and he fell onto one side. A thrill passed around his body. His hair stood on end. His eyes became fixed on the tip of the nose. His face was lit with a smile. And this is called Maha Samadhi. The total absorption, experiencing which the mind never ever comes back to the body at all. And he got absorbed in this Maha Samadhi. The doctor came after some time, declared that he has passed on. So this is the life of the great Saint Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And after that, Vivekananda ji, of course, struggled a lot. 1886 to 1893, he roamed in this country for 7 years with very less support. And finally, when he went to Roar there in America, he spoke. And it is not, very interesting thing I read. Sisters and Brothers of America, he was not the first person to say that in that Parliament of Religions. For a long time, I thought that he addressed them. But earlier speakers also have addressed. Earlier, I think 2 or 3 speakers have spoken the same words, Sisters and Brothers of America. But when Vivekananda spoke those words, for 2 minutes, there was a deafening applause, completely, continuously. People were standing and clapping for him. After some years, when he returned to India, he was explaining that do you think that I had some strange power that day? And he said, yes, I had a strange power that day. And that is the power of brahmacharya, that I have trained my mind, that my mind, there is no thought of lust at all in that mind. And such brahmacharya, if anybody follows for 12 years and gets absorbed in the truth, they will also have the same power. Then 1897, he formed the Ramakrishna Mission. And 1902, he took Samadhi. Think about it. He guided the organization only for 5 years. And today it is such a massive organization doing such human service to the whole world, because the sankalpa is selfless and so deep. So this is how the work of the great masters continue even after many centuries and many millenniums, because of the purity and selflessness and the realization. So our salutations to these both great masters, and may their grace and blessings be with us always. So now here we stop for today, and next class onwards we will take up a text which is Tattva Bodh. It is a text written by Adi Shankaracharya ji, and it is a journey of a seeker from the beginning to the end, from the stage of what qualifications a seeker requires to what is the state of realization and what happens to a person in that state of realization. This entire journey of a seeker is beautifully brought out, and it is also that many terms and terminologies of Vedanta are introduced in this text. So we can become more and more clearer about this text. Then our study of any spiritual literature, especially Advait Vedanta, becomes more deeper. even the Gita, if you study, or the Upanishads, if you study, the base is Tattva Bodh and the clarity that the text offers. So that we will take up in our next class. Anything that you want to ask, share today?
I want to. What was the role of Sharda Devi after Ramakrishna's passing away?
So they all looked upon her as the Divine Mother, and she guided them a lot in the sadhana aspects, and also for the organization she would guide them, but mainly the organization and the taking care of these monks, etc. Vivekananda used to do. She lived more as a renunciate, as a introvert person, but she would guide them on certain sadhana aspects, and some places, if they go to her for some guidance in terms of what we should all do now, how should we spread out, etc., she would guide them in that.
Yeah. Okay. Hari Om.
Right. Hari Om. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Oma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.